you have just baked this beautiful loaf of bread, and now you're wondering how you can keep it fresh for as long as possible. And I'm going to show you my favorite methods that I'm kind of alternating back and forth between depending on my needs and my breads and so forth. The best thing for your bread obviously is to eat it fresh. There's nothing like a slice of fresh baked bread with just a little bit of butter and salt on it. I mean, you know, I'm from Germany, so that's what we do, and I love that. However, if you can keep your bread on the counter, you can probably even keep it like this if you're going through it pretty quick. Now, this is a pretty big loaf. This is more than what we will go through in a few days, and I want to say you can keep it on the counter for maybe 2 to 3 days. If it's longer than that, you can also put it in a paper bag, or you can put it in a linen bag. I have another bread in here that I will show you in a second. So you can do that and it will also stay fresh. Then a lot of people love bread boxes. I don't have one because I don't really have enough space on my counter for a dedicated bread box. But what I will often do, I will often use a stoneware crock. This is actually my grandparents, and they did use it for storing their bread. And all you do is this is a bread that I baked yesterday, and this is spelt rye, oat, and einkorn with some pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, and you put it with the cut side down into this crock. It's essentially like a bread box. And you put something on top, maybe a round piece of wood or another cutting board, or you could probably just drape a piece of cloth over it, and then it can live on your counter just like that. That's actually really one of the best ways to store your bread because there's a lot of air circulation, so it keeps it from getting moldy. And I do recommend that if you do that once a week you just take some vinegar, just plain white vinegar, nothing with flavor in it, and wipe the inside to get ahead of any like little mold spores that might have accumulated in there. But the air circulation is really good. And I do want to talk about which kind of breads last the longest. Anything that's made like an Irish soda bread, baking powder, they don't really last as long. And then yeast breads are kind of in the middle, and sourdough breads are the ones that typically last the longest because the beneficial bacteria in the sourdough outcompete other bacteria that might lead to mold and so forth. So then another thing you can do is you can cut up the fresh bread, and it's always a little challenging cutting up a fresh bread on camera that I haven't really vetted before. So let's see how this one turned out. It might be slightly underbaked because I think I could have had it in there longer, but sometimes life gets in the way and you have certain realities. So I'll cut this up. Still warm. I think it's good enough for camera. So one half I typically like to keep on the counter. I also will often keep it in this linen bread bag and keep it in my oven. Now here's the caveat. If you have more than one person in your kitchen doing things in your kitchen and turning on the oven, preheating it while you have your bread in there, that's not a good idea. Since I'm the one who's doing most of the cooking and baking in my family, I always have stuff in my oven that I need to remove before I do something. So for me, that's a safe thing to do. You could put a little sticker on your stove for, other people in your household using your kitchen, but that's something that I do because I don't have this sitting on my counter, and I can just keep the bread in there and then I remove stuff when I need my oven. This other half I often, and I'm a obsessive recycler. This is actually a plastic bag from a bread that we did buy at Trader Joe's, which is very similar to this, and you actually get a half that's just like this. You can take this entire half of bread or your full bread, put it in here, and I like to do it while it's still warm, and then you will have some moisture build up, and I will put that in the freezer. And whenever we're ready to eat, I thaw it either on the counter, sometimes I even put it in the refrigerator, and then it's almost as good as new. You could put it in the oven really quickly to crisp it up just a little bit. What you can also do, which I'm not going to do with this one right now, but you can cut a fresh bread once it's cooled down enough that you can actually slice it, because sometimes the bread needs to set before you can slice it. Otherwise, it's going to be super gummy and super soft, and you can cut maybe 1 or 2 slices, but that's it. So I would actually let this cool down entirely for at least an hour, maybe 2 hours, and cut the bread in individual slices. This is great for, let's say, a one-person household. You just want a slice or 2 here and there, and you need your bread to last longer than just a few days. You can take out individual slices and thaw them. My husband, for example, he loves to toast his bread, so he will stick the bread slices in the toaster, and that way that bread won't go bad. Now, here's something that purists will, I don't know, have their opinion about, but people do not recommend to put your bread in the refrigerator. And why is that? It makes the bread go stale faster. However, especially with this bread, once it gets to a few days, and I'm pretty much the only one who's eating this because my family likes this bread better, I do keep the loaf in my refrigerator in a plastic bag, and then I just, every day I cut off a slice. Is it ideal? No. Does it keep the bread? Yes. And it does dry it out a little bit, but that's better for me than to either lose the bread because it has dried out and it's not really pleasant anymore, or having to put it in the freezer, which I don't like because then I need to thaw it. And if I ever do that, let's say I've baked the bread, I'm not going through it, we're going on vacation, I know I'll be gone for a week or 2, then I will cut it in slices, and then I will actually take out a slice at a time and stick it maybe in the toast oven on the thaw function. Now, these are my favorite methods, and I know sometimes you just can't prevent it from happening. Life gets in the way, you end up with a stale piece of bread. That's going to be another video, and I'll be linking it right up here when I post this video, where I will show you various things you can do with stale bread so you don't have to ever throw any bread out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in that video.